Hello everyone and welcome back to my kitchen. Today I wanted to share with you one of my favorite apple desserts that's perfect for fall and Thanksgiving. We'll be making my apple pie cinnamon rolls with cream cheese icing, and these are as good as they sound. There is so much incredible flavor in every single bite. You get that soft, fluffy dough filled with cinnamon apple pie filling. We'll top everything with that creamy cream cheese icing. Every single bite is just heavenly. You are going to be coming back for seconds, I guarantee it. We'll get things started with that soft yeast dough. This is a classic recipe that I use across all my cinnamon roll recipes, and then we'll make that cinnamon apple pie filling. It's so aromatic and delicious. Bake the rolls before adding that incredible icing on the top. You are going to be in food heaven with this incredible recipe. It's perfect for fall and for Thanksgiving breakfast. Don't forget to head on down into the video description box for the recipe link. I include all the details online, including metric measurements. Meanwhile, let's get started on this incredible recipe. For the yeast dough, we'll start with 1 cup of whole milk, and you want to heat it either on the stovetop or in the microwave until it reaches between 120 and 130 degrees Fahrenheit. Pour the milk into a large mixing bowl. Add a couple teaspoons of sugar and sprinkle in 1 tablespoon of dry active yeast. Lightly tap it into the milk, and we're going to let this stand for about 5 to 7 minutes until that yeast starts to proof. It should look nice and foamy and fluffy. Next, I'll add in the remaining ½ cup of white granulated sugar, 1 teaspoon of sea salt, 2 large eggs, a teaspoon of vanilla extract, and a 1/3 cup of melted unsalted butter. Whisk this all together. I've measured out 4 cups of all-purpose flour. We're going to add the flour gradually into the wet batter. I'm going to add maybe ½ cup at a time, and then whisk that in at first until you have a nice smooth batter, and then once it starts to thicken, we'll switch over to a spatula. Once a dough ball forms, we're going to flour our work surface with the remaining flour and turn out the dough so that we could knead it. Knead the dough for about 4 to 6 minutes, sprinkling in additional flour if your dough is still sticky. You want this dough to be really soft, smooth, and elastic. We'll place the kneaded dough back into our mixing bowl, and then we'll cover the mixing bowl with a little tea towel or a napkin and set this into a warm corner of your kitchen. You could even set it next to your stovetop if you have your oven going, and let this proof for about an hour, hour and a half until that dough is doubled up in size. Should be nice and fluffy. While this is proofing, I'm going to show you how to make that cinnamon apple pie filling. We'll need 4 medium-sized apples for the apple pie filling. You can use any variety of crispy apple. You can either leave the peel on or remove it. For me, I don't mind the peel, so I'm going to keep it on. We need to dice the apples into small pea-sized pieces. And then transfer the apples into a pot or a sauté pan. To the apples, we'll add 1 cup of packed light brown sugar, 1 teaspoon of sea salt, 1 tablespoon of ground cinnamon, ½ teaspoon of allspice, and I like to grate in fresh nutmeg. We'll need about ½ teaspoon of fresh nutmeg, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Mix this all together. Bring the apple pie filling over to the stovetop. We're going to let this cook over medium heat. Let this apple mixture come up to a simmer and let it cook away for about 15 to 20 minutes until the apples are nice and soft. Once the apples are softened, I'm going to thicken the mixture with a cornstarch slurry, so 2 tablespoons of cornstarch with 2 tablespoons of water. Pour that in, and we'll cook this briefly for about 30 seconds to a minute until the mixture is thickened. This apple pie filling smells so incredibly delicious. It's going to be the perfect filling for these cinnamon rolls. I'm going to place this into the refrigerator so that it cools down faster. You want it to be at about room temperature before you apply it onto the dough. My dough has proofed nicely, and now we can start working on the roll. So I'm going to punch down my dough softly and then sprinkle some flour onto the work surface. Flour a rolling pin, and we're going to roll the dough out into a large 20 by 20 inch square. I've softened half a cup of unsalted butter at room temperature. We're going to spread this butter on to the dough. We'll spread it evenly to the edges with an offset spatula. Let's add that apple pie filling next. I want to make sure that this is cooled down to room temperature. We're going to spread this evenly across the dough. Make sure you get it down to the edges as well. And we could start rolling the dough up into a log. Using a serrated knife, we're going to cut this log into quarters. And then each quarter into thirds. So we'll make 12 rolls total. Transfer the rolls into a 9 by 13 inch casserole pan. Our apple pie cinnamon rolls need to proof for about 30 to 45 minutes until they're doubled up in size, and I like to do this with the rolls on the stovetop with the oven preheating to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Once they're nicely proofed, bake them for 10 minutes and then take them out of the oven and pour 3/4 cups of half and half cream or whole milk over the rolls. This is my secret ingredient. I've been doing this for years and years and years, and it gives the rolls that gooey, fluffy, soft texture that you're looking for. Place the rolls back into the oven for another 25 to 28 minutes until they're nice and golden brown on the top, and then we'll come back for that cream cheese icing. For the icing, we'll start with 8 ounces of softened cream cheese. I'm going to use my mixer, blend this for a couple minutes until that cheese is nice and smooth. Next, add in a 1/4 teaspoon of sea salt, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Depending on how sweet you want the icing to be, you can add anywhere from 1.5 to 2 cups of powdered sugar. And we'll start with just a couple tablespoons of cream. I'm going to add more later to thin out the icing. I want the icing to really sink into all the cracks and crevices of the roll, so I'm going to add a couple tablespoons of cream at a time to thin out the icing until I get it to the right consistency. I just took these rolls out of the oven, and while they're still nice and hot, I'm going to apply that cream cheese icing. This way it can kind of melt and sink into all the little nooks and crannies. Time for a little taste test. I'm going to use a knife to cut the cinnamon rolls into pieces. And that's it for our apple pie cinnamon rolls. I am so excited for you to try this incredible fall recipe. This is so great anytime during the fall season, and I could totally imagine this for Thanksgiving breakfast. Imagine the aroma of this wafting through your house, gathering your whole family around. It is the perfect dish. Now, I like to add some extra icing on the top. This recipe makes quite a bit, so you can add extra and have some on the side too. Let's dig in to enjoy. They're still nice and warm. You have that incredible diced apple pie filling on the inside. These cinnamon rolls are simply divine, like a little taste of heaven. I love how soft and fluffy the dough is. The texture is so perfect, combined with that cinnamon apple filling, and that cream cheese icing really ties everything together. These are just my absolute favorite for the fall season. These are simply irresistible, and I know you're gonna love them from the very first bite. I'm going to include make-ahead instructions for this recipe up on my website, along with all the measurements, including metric measurements. So don't forget to check that out. I have that link down in the video description box below. I hope you enjoy this incredible recipe at home as much as I do, and I'll see you next time with a new recipe.